Alright, so we're going to learn how to do the US double crochet stitch. So firstly we'll start off with a slip knot and a foundation chain so that we can practice on. Okay, so a slip knot, you just wrap the yarn around your finger like that, pop it off, grab the working end of the yarn, push that through the back of the loop, pull it up and tighten it, and there's your slip knot. Now you just get your hook and pop it through there, tighten that up a little bit, and we're just going to do about 10 chain stitches to practice on practice our double crochet stitch on. So wrap the yarn around the hook, draw it through, wrap the yarn around the hook, draw it through, and you just keep doing the same for 10 chain stitches, and that'll make a foundation chain. Wrap the yarn around the hook, pull it through, wrap the yarn around the hook, pull it through. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we're going to start the first row into the foundation chain now. Now with the US double crochet stitch, it's a longer stitch, so we'll need to start working into the 4th chain from the hook. So you count, this loop on the hook isn't a chain stitch, so the loop down, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we'll wrap the yarn over the hook and pop it through the top loop there of the chain stitch. Wrap the yarn over the hook, draw it through the chain stitch, wrap the yarn over the hook, pull it through 2 loops on the hook, wrap the yarn over the hook and pull it through the remaining 2 loops, and there's your first double crochet stitch. Now later on, those 3 chain stitches we left there will be counted as a double crochet stitch as well. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so second double crochet stitch, wrap the yarn over the hook, push it through the top loop of the chain stitch, wrap the yarn over the hook, draw it through, wrap the yarn over the hook, draw it through 2 loops, wrap the yarn over the hook, draw it through the remaining 2 loops, and there's your second double crochet stitch. So just so you know, there are 2 double crochet stitches in the crocheting world. One is US and one is UK. The UK double crochet stitch is half the size of a US double crochet stitch. There's different stitches in UK and US, so that can be confusing when you first start. I got caught out there reading patterns, so just make sure you have a look at whether you're reading a US or a UK pattern, because you'll need to determine which stitch you're actually going to be doing. Okay, so moving on, wrap your yarn around the hook, push your hook through the top loop of the chain stitch, wrap the yarn over the hook, draw it through, wrap the yarn around the hook, draw that through, wrap the yarn around the hook and pull it through the last 2 loops. Alright, so I'll just do one more here and then I'll quickly do the rest, and then I'll move on to the second row and show you how to do a crochet turning chain as well. So wrap the yarn around the hook, push it through the top loop of the chain stitch, wrap the yarn around the hook, draw it through, wrap the yarn around the hook, draw it through 2 loops, wrap the yarn around the hook and draw it through the 2 remaining loops. Okay, now I'll just do the rest here. Okay, so when you get to the end of your work, you're going to need to turn. Now how I do that is I hold my hook like this and I spin the work on the hook around that way, and with your working end of your yarn I push it in between the work and the hook and up to the back there. Alright, so now we're going to do a crochet turning chain for a US double crochet stitch, and you'll need 3 chain stitches. So we'll go 1, 2, 3. And why you need 3 chain stitches is because you need to bring your yarn or your work up to the height for one of these for the double crochet stitch. So 3 chain stitches equals the height of a double crochet stitch. Okay, alright, now we'll move on to the second row, and we're going to wrap the yarn over the hook, and we're going to insert the hook from front to the back into both loops of the stitches now, and we'll start in the second stitch because we've already got the 3 chains counting as 1 double crochet stitch in the first stitch there. So that's why we go into the second stitch. Alright, so wrap the yarn over the hook, and we're going to push it through those 2 loops of the second stitch. Wrap the yarn over the hook and draw it through those 2 loops of the stitch. Wrap the yarn over the hook, draw it through the 2 loops on the hook, wrap the yarn over the hook, draw it through the 2 remaining loops, and so that will count as your second double crochet stitch. So we'll move on to the next one. Wrap the yarn over the hook, push it through those 2 loops of the stitch, wrap the yarn over the hook, draw it through the stitch, the 2 loops of the stitch, wrap the yarn over the hook, pull it through there, wrap the yarn over the hook and pull it through those 2. And you would just continue on doing this same stitch into each stitch on the previous row, and that's how you would get a double crochet fabric. So I'll just finish this row here. So if you wanted to continue on after the second row, you would basically just repeat this row 2 that we're just doing now. Alright, so into the last stitch now. See that's the chain 3 crochet turning chain, and remember we count that as a double crochet stitch, so we do need to crochet into the 3rd or top chain of that crochet turning chain, and it's slipping away from me here. So you do need to get a stitch in there if you can get it in there. That's why it's a good idea to make your crochet turning chain stitches a little bit looser so you can actually get in there. And I've made it too tight. And voila, I did it. Phew.